Hello, and welcome to this DCU Writing Centre screencast on English literature essay writing. Writing an essay on literature in any language involves the study of texts, which includes novels, plays, and poems, as well as films and non-fiction. Most essay questions will ask you to put forward an argument or point of view on that text by analysing the theme, characters, style, or ideas. Whoever is marking your assignment will be assessing your understanding of the text and its ideas, as well as your analytical ability and writing skills. In this screencast, I'll discuss how to approach an essay question, from analysing the question, to research and planning, to producing well-written paragraphs which incorporate primary and secondary sources. I'll also quickly look at introductions and conclusions, and note what to keep in mind when you're revising and editing. These topics follow DCU Writing Centre's 7 Steps to Success for Essay Writing. For a general introduction to this, see the assignment writing video on our website. When you're given a set of essay questions and have chosen one to tackle, you must be sure that you understand what's being asked. Students often make the mistake of seeing 1 or 2 words in an assignment question and writing what they know about these words without tackling the question at hand. Often, assignments will begin with a quote, which may be directly related to the question, as we'll see in a moment, or which provide context to a question. You must take these into account and be sure you understand them. Let's take the following example to work on throughout the screencast. In Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy represent an ideal love relationship. Discuss. Here you are explicitly asked to discuss the quote. Your impulse might be to say, yes, they are an ideal couple, or no, they're not. But the verb discuss means you need to do more than a yes-no answer. For example, you should also think about the characteristics of an ideal love relationship in the novel. Don't assume that ideal love relationship is a static term which won't change from text to text. This should become clearer in a moment. Once you've chosen your question, work towards a brainstorm with the help of targeted research. Reread the text with the question in mind, or revise notes you've taken on your first reading to help you pick out key scenes and sections. Group these ideas around themes or topics that will be relevant to your essay. You should also start to look at some secondary sources to help you put your ideas together. I'll discuss these in more detail later. For this question on Pride and Prejudice, your brainstorm might look something like this. You've chosen some key scenes between the main characters, thought about other examples that you could compare to Elizabeth and Darcy's relationship, and started to think about what makes an ideal relationship for Austen. You'll then need to turn this into a plan, choosing 3 to 5 topics that will help you answer the question. For this question, your plan might look something like this. In order to show that there's an ideal love relationship between Darcy and Elizabeth, you can talk about how they took the time to get to know one another, using the examples here. Following this, mention that the reader knows what Elizabeth wants from a marriage, and finally, contrast them with another couple from the novel. These are just some of the things you could mention in a question like this, but the main thing is these points are clear, relevant, and show that you have a good understanding of the novel. Once your plan is made, it's time to get down to writing. In addition to the structure you've decided on in your plan, you need to think about forming your ideas into paragraphs. There should be 1 idea per paragraph, and they will generally follow this structure. A topic sentence early on explains what the paragraph is about. This is supported by evidence from the text and secondary sources. A concluding sentence will often relate your points back to the main question being asked. But how do you use primary and secondary sources in this paragraph? Let's start with primary sources. It's important that you don't devote a lot of your word count to retelling the plot. The lecturer or tutor already knows the story, and it takes away from your analysis. Don't include huge chunks of quoted text without analysis. However, you do want to make it clear which part of the text you're talking about, and make sure these passages are relevant. They should also demonstrate a deep understanding of the text. So, returning to the Pride and Prejudice question, an example paragraph would look something like this. The whole paragraph will focus on Elizabeth's visit to Pemberley, as demonstrated by the topic sentence. Quotes from the novel are used to help make the point. She is fascinated with the house itself, remarking to herself, to be mistress of Pemberley might be something. The quote is balanced with your own interpretation. Her interaction with the housekeeper provides Elizabeth with a positive view of Darcy she had not encountered. As the narrator notes, this was praise most opposite to her ideas. Again, you're showing how the change in Elizabeth comes about using a mixture of analysis and quotation. This is a good start, but at this level, you'll need to add some secondary reading to help your essay. Avoid any of the sites mentioned here, sticking to journal articles, books, and introductions that can be found in the library or on Google Scholar. Skim pieces at first, reading the title, abstract, intro, and conclusion. If it's relevant, read the whole thing again, making notes as you go, to help you find points that can help you or you want to argue against. As with primary sources, make sure quotes and paraphrases are relevant, and they aren't just copy-pasted in with no coherence. To continue with the paragraph we've been working on, a secondary source might look something like this. You're using Gow's work to confirm that Elizabeth is attracted to Darcy's wealth, but you've added to this by noting that the housekeeper's good opinion also played a role in this change. A concluding sentence summarizes this, relating it back to the main questions being asked. Once you've drafted the body of the essay, you'll need to come back to your introduction and conclusion. The intro should begin with some general statements about the text and the question. Here you might mention how important love is in the novel generally. Then you'll need to lay out the specifics of your essay, telling the reader, this essay will discuss topic 1, 2, 3. The conclusion should summarize the points you've made, providing a clear response to the question you've been asked. There may be opportunity to point outwards to another text as you finish, but don't force this if it doesn't fit. It's always clear when a piece of writing has been revised before submission, so leave yourself the time to look over your work. Asking yourself the following questions before hand-in will help to improve your writing. Have I answered the question? Hopefully, if you've referred back to the question throughout, this should be clear. Is there a clear structure? This is where a good plan early on will have helped. Is the language formal? Remember, this is a piece of academic work. And are there any typos? Check especially that you've spelled the name of the text you're working on and its author correctly. Do be sure that you've formatted text correctly. Longer works are written in italics, with shorter works in quotation marks. Use a formal style and avoid clichés. Don't use the first person unless explicitly told by a tutor or lecturer that you can. Don't make general statements about a text such as, Robinson Crusoe is everyone's favourite novel, or generalised judgments such as, readers hate long descriptions. Be sure to write out words in full and avoid contractions like don't, can't, and won't. Finally, be sure to cite anything that isn't your own work, as plagiarism is a serious offence, and check with your lecturers or tutors what referencing style you should be using. Thank you for your attention and good luck with your essays. You can find more academic writing resources on the DCU Writing Centre website.